Right now, billions of your cells are waiting for a signal. Not a signal from a pill, an injection, or a medical procedure, but a signal that is generated simply by the absence of food. The science behind this signal was so significant that it earned a Nobel Prize in Physiology or Medicine in 2016. The researcher who won it had uncovered autophagy, the process by which your cells destroy their own damaged components and recycle them into new, functional material. And the most powerful switch for activating autophagy is something almost everyone can do. Stop eating after 8 in the evening. To understand why the timing of your last meal matters so profoundly, you need to understand your body's internal clock. Human physiology operates on a roughly 24-hour circadian rhythm that precisely orchestrates when insulin is secreted, when fat is burned or stored, when growth hormone peaks, and when cellular repair machinery switches on. In the evening hours, insulin sensitivity progressively declines. The same plate of rice or bread that would produce a modest blood glucose rise at noon will cause a significantly steeper spike eaten at 9 p.m., when melatonin, the sleep hormone, begins to rise around 9 to 10 p.m. It actively interferes with insulin signaling, further impairing the body's ability to process glucose. Research by a leading preventive medicine team found that food consumed after 7 p.m. is substantially more likely to be converted and stored as body fat than the same food eaten earlier in the day. A landmark randomized controlled trial published in one of the world's highest impact scientific journals provided the most direct human evidence for this mechanism. Participants with overweight and obesity were divided into two groups, given identical calorie intakes, but one group ate early and the other ate late. Despite consuming exactly the same amount of food, the late-eating group showed increased levels of ghrelin. The hunger-stimulating hormone decreased levels of leptin. The satiety hormone reduced energy expenditure upon waking and increased expression of genes in fat tissue that promote fat storage. The same calories, eaten later, drove the body to store more, burn less, and feel hungrier. Meal timing is not a minor detail, it is a metabolic determinant. When food intake stops, a cascade of restorative events unfolds on a predictable timeline. In the first 4 to 6 hours after the last meal, blood glucose returns to baseline and insulin secretion is minimized. Between 8 and 10 hours, liver glycogen stores are depleted, and the body begins converting fatty acids into ketone bodies as an alternative fuel. Between 12 and 14 hours, a metabolic switch occurs and autophagy begins to meaningfully activate. Between 16 and 18 hours, autophagy reaches a high level with damaged organelles, misfolded proteins, and oxidized cellular debris being rapidly degraded and recycled. Studies in animal models show that beyond 24 hours, stem cell activation and immune cell reconstitution begin to occur. Stopping eating at 8 p.m. and resuming at 8 a.m. creates a clean 12-hour fasting window, enough to initiate meaningful cellular repair every single night. Autophagy is not a passive process. It is a highly regulated, active recycling system that removes precisely the cellular garbage most associated with chronic disease. Defective mitochondria that generate excessive reactive oxygen species are dismantled, and new, efficient mitochondria are generated in their place. The toxic protein aggregates implicated in Alzheimer's disease, amyloid beta and tau, and the alpha-synuclein clumps that drive Parkinson's disease, are broken down by autophagic machinery. Cancer cells, which accumulate mutations and damaged organelles, are selectively targeted for removal before they can proliferate. The Nobel Prize Committee stated that autophagy controls important physiological functions, where cellular components need to be degraded and recycled, and that disruption of autophagy is linked to Parkinson's disease, type 2 diabetes, and cancer. Growth hormone, the body's master repair signal, rises dramatically during the fasting state. Research has shown up to a 5-fold increase during fasting periods. In adults, growth hormone preserves lean muscle mass, drives fat mobilization, and directs cellular repair pathways. Simultaneously, insulin-like growth factor 1 levels decrease during fasting, a shift that carries significant implications for cancer prevention. since chronically elevated IGF-1 creates a cellular environment favorable to tumor proliferation, allowing IGF-1 to fall naturally through nightly fasting is one of the most accessible, evidence-based strategies for reducing cancer risk at the cellular level. The clinical data on time-restricted eating are now substantial. A long-term study found that restricting eating to an 8-hour window for 3 months produced 3 to 5% body weight reduction, and this loss was maintained 1 year later. A clinical trial in adults with metabolic syndrome showed that limiting daily eating to a 10-hour window improved body weight, blood pressure, and cholesterol markers after 3 months. Head-to-head comparison studies consistently show that early time-restricted eating, finishing the day's food early and sleeping with a long fast, outperforms late time-restricted eating for reducing body fat percentage, improving diastolic blood pressure, and lowering fasting blood glucose. A comprehensive analysis of 40 intermittent fasting studies found an average weight reduction of 7 to 11 pounds over 10 weeks. 3 practical strategies make this sustainable. The first is to restructure the evening meal for faster digestion and earlier completion. A dinner of lean protein and vegetables with minimal refined carbohydrate, for example, grilled fish or tofu with leafy greens and a modest portion of whole grain, eaten between 6 and 8 p.m., digests efficiently and allows the metabolic transition to fasting to begin on schedule. The second strategy is to use non-caloric evening beverages to manage hunger and support the fasting state. Unsweetened herbal teas, chamomile, rooibos, dried ginger, or cinnamon satisfy the impulse to consume something without raising insulin or blood glucose. Chamomile in particular lowers cortisol and improves sleep onset, creating a virtuous cycle where better sleep amplifies growth hormone release and deepens cellular repair. The third strategy is to treat sleep as the centerpiece of the repair window. The deepest growth hormone pulses and the most intensive autophagic activity occur during slow-wave sleep, particularly between 10 p.m. and 2 a.m. Finishing dinner early removes the digestive burden that degrades sleep quality. Dimming lights and reducing screen exposure 90 minutes before bed protects melatonin production and maintaining a bedroom temperature between 18 and 20 degrees Celsius further deepens slow-wave sleep duration. The 7-day start plan works as follows. On days 1 and 2, track your current last eating time and move it 30 minutes earlier without changing anything else. On days 3 and 4, establish a firm 8 p.m. cutoff and replace any post-dinner snacking with unsweetened herbal tea or warm water if hunger is intense. A small piece of plain ginger or a cup of chamomile tea is sufficient. On days 5 and 6, advance the final meal to 7 to 7:30 p.m. to extend the overnight fast to 13 or 14 hours. And begin eliminating screen use 60 minutes before sleep. From day 7 onward, aim for a 7 p.m. dinner cutoff as a sustainable default, without severe caloric restriction on the foods consumed during the eating window. Observe changes in morning energy, skin quality, weight, and mental clarity after 30 days. Several important cautions must be observed. Diabetics on insulin or glucose-lowering medications face a risk of hypoglycemia during extended fasting periods and must consult their physician before modifying meal timing. Pregnant women, breastfeeding mothers, and adolescents under 18 should not follow this protocol. Individuals with any history of eating disorders should not begin food timing restrictions without professional guidance. Those performing intense evening exercise may need post-workout nutrition and should adjust timing accordingly. A large observational study published by a major cardiology organization found that eating within a window of less than 8 hours per day was associated with a higher risk of cardiovascular mortality. An important caution against extreme fasting protocols, and a reminder that the goal here is a natural 12 to 16-hour overnight fast, not an aggressive dietary restriction. Gradual implementation, as outlined in the 7-day plan, is both safer and more sustainable than abrupt changes. Every night, when the kitchen goes quiet and the last plate is washed, your cells are listening. Stop sending them glucose. Stop sending them insulin. Give them the silence they need to begin the repair work that no supplement, no drug, and no procedure can replicate. The Nobel Prize confirmed what the cells already knew. The most powerful medicine is the one your body makes. During the hours you choose not to eat.